Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for being on the stage with me today. Why don't we start with maybe some intros? So, Gurdeep, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and the company?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everybody. Gurdeep, Dhillon, CMO at Contentstack. I'm based in San Francisco, California. Contentstack, we combine traditional headless content management with context management, all in pursuit of helping brands deliver what we call adaptive digital experiences.
Zeynep, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. So Zeynep Ozdemir, I lead global marketing at Atlassian. Some of you may recognize some of our products like Jira, Confluence, Loom, Trello. Anyone use Atlassian products here? Raise your hands. Whoa.
Very nice.
Great. So we provide collaboration software for more than 300,000 companies in the world, and I'd say our next frontier is enabling AI-human collaboration at scale.
Fantastic. All right, so my first question is about personalization. This is something that probably every press pitch I get from an AI-related marketing startup mentions personalization. My question to you, maybe I'll start with Zeynep, is where are we at with this?
Well, marketers care a lot about personalization because customers do appreciate personalized experiences and interactions that are tailored to themselves. So that's why a lot of marketers have spent a lot of time connecting different customer data sources like intent data, behavior data, and customer preferences to be able to deliver on that promise. At Atlassian, we run a very big product-led growth motion, which means that we help our customers find, try, and buy our products in a self-service funnel. And we try to build experiences, personalized experiences that are anchored on their core intent. So a good example of this is when somebody searches for a specific keyword, we try to give them experiences on the web, experiences in the product, and even their onboarding emails that are catered to that original intent. And we have actually been seeing maybe just generative AI actually helping us scale that motion further in our efforts. I'll give you an example. We're personalizing onboarding emails based on that intent. And we've been doing a lot of tests across AI-generated emails, human-generated emails, and a combination of human and AI iteration. And I will say that the sweet spot seems to be on that human-AI iteration right now for us.
Interesting. And I know yourself as a marketing practitioner, you use your own product, which is Rovo. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about how that works and your experience with it?
Oh, yes. So Rovo, just for everybody's information, Rovo is Atlassian's enterprise AI search and chat offering. You're able to also create no-code agents to embed them in your workflows. For me, Rovo is very special because it was a savior of mine when I joined Atlassian. As an executive onboarding in a company, in a remote company, I had a lot of questions. And under normal circumstances, I would stalk my new colleagues to answer all of those questions.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah, you've been there. So I actually spent hours of question answering with Rovo to learn everything about the company, about what different teams do, why certain decisions were made the way they were made, what the product portfolio is all about. And you know what was great about it? Rovo doesn't judge you. There's no question too silly or repetitive to answer. And then I would show up in these meetings knowing everything in a really impressive way. So, the whole point of the personal anecdote there is we are, with AI, we're able to unlock unprecedented pace of learning in our organizations. And for marketers specifically, this is really interesting because we thrive on new insights. We thrive on research. And right now, for example, my leadership team has a Rovo agent that will go fetch market trends that we're particularly interested in on a regular basis and come back and make messaging recommendations to us on how we can revise our positioning and messaging based on those trends. Those types of things are really powerful, I think, to embed in workflows. So
I love how you guys are leaning in as a company, both from a product perspective, but also internally. And your perspective on personalization resonates really strongly.
Yeah.
Actually, can I chime in on
Please do.
that part? Because I was looking at faces in the crowd when you said personalization, and I saw a lot of like... And I think it's funny because everybody's kind of sick and tired of hearing about personalization.
Maybe they're sending me those emails.
Yeah, it's... and I would say rightfully so, because personalization has been broken. It was kind of doomed to fail. But that's changing, and you mentioned with AI and with data, and I just wanted to touch on the fact that, like, what's changing and why is that important to understand? The first part is we're moving from rules-based personalization, so kind of old school if-then type personalization, to what we call reasoning-based personalization, and that's when brands can adapt and do that in real time versus being in reactive mode. So that's part one, and AI really helps, like you said, with scale, because you can scale content creation. But that's not enough. The other part of the equation is context. So context brings meaning, and it brings authenticity to the content and to the personalization. And I believe we're entering into this kind of new economy, call it the context economy, where the digital currency that brands are going to fight to harness will be context. And the ones that do it well are the ones that will win, and the ones that will finally do personalization at scale.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I know SEO comes up for a lot of us in the media because the eyeballs and our pieces have changed because of analytics and the changes to algorithms and so forth. And so one thing I hear a lot is SEO is dead. So, and GEO maybe is the next thing. How should companies rethink SEO and content strategy to stay visible? Particularly maybe if they're a smaller company, they might not have a very large marketing team and something like that. How about you, Gurdeep? Maybe you've got some lessons for us.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the provocative statement is SEO is dead. It's not true. It's evolving. And whether you say SEO or GEO or AEO or whatever the acronym of the month is, it's not going away. And yes, there are tactics you can deploy to improve discoverability across any of them. One that I really like is because people are getting educational, kind of basic top-of-funnel information from LLMs or from AI mode in search, you need to focus on content that moves them further down the funnel or moves them forward in their journey. But actually, I think fundamentally, I stick to my kind of the mantra I've had my whole career, which is don't focus on building content for algorithms and bots. Focus on building content for people. Build elite content that is so good that people would pay for it. If you do that, and if you're focused on what your audience really cares about, you won't have to worry as much about the optimization side of it because you'll be earning the attention of the audience that you really care about.
Yeah, I very much agree with Gurdeep on this. I see search and AI chat as two ways of discovering knowledge, and both will coexist for a while, in my opinion. Sometimes, I mean, if you ask yourself, sometimes you have very specific questions that you want answered, and other times you want to scan a topic or a category, and you still want to go to the sources directly. So that's going to be here to stay, I think. One of the things, though, back to your point about focusing on being elite, creating elite content, I do think that having an authority in the topics that you care about, your brands care about, is an important element for everything, right? And I think that AI citations are also coming predominantly from very credible sources in terms of like deep experience and deep expertise, which is probably something to keep in mind. I'll give you an example from Atlassian. We've been in a sort of tradition of publishing annual reports in areas that we really care about. So state of teams report, state of developer experience report. We do an AI collaboration index on a regular basis. And just the way humans really like that and cite that, and media does it, AI overviews and AI also seems to like that. So it's one perspective that might be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you gave a really good example, Zeynep, of using AI for your onboarding. But I'd be interested to know from both of you, how AI is shaping the skill sets of marketing. How has it changed either your daily work or your team or your workflow, any of those sorts of things?
So I think we talk about this a lot within our team. I think there's 3 skill sets that are going to be more and more important as we go along. One of them should not be a surprise. We all need to be expert prompt engineers in the sense of, I don't mean prompt engineering in the sense of, oh, you have a one-off question that you ask and you get your answer. It's more like what prompts are really relevant in your work day to day, for your team, for your organization, that you want to keep repeating on a regular basis, that you want to put into a workflow. Like the example I just gave around that research that I do on a regular basis. So those are the things that we will probably need to be strategic experts at extracting the best out of AI. The other one is that we all have to be very rigorous in our experimental thinking, because AI is all about experimentation. And there's certain marketers who are at an advantage here. They're growth marketers, they're performance marketers. They grew up with A/B testing. But with AI, we should think about everything as an experiment. Does this work with AI or does this not work with AI? So I think that's going to be a skill set that we all will need to have. The last one is being super data savvy around marketing data, because very shortly we will all be having conversations with our data sets. So no longer looking at strict dashboards, but really asking questions to our data sets, which means that we all need to understand our data really well to be able to interrogate it with natural language.
An angle that I like to think about on this is start with thinking about how the experience of your audience is going to change. And so an example of this would be, imagine you're a brand marketer, you have an e-commerce site, and somebody comes to that website in the future and they need a new pair of shoes. And there's a digital concierge agent that pops up and they ask the agent, hey, I need size 10, I like Hoka's. And all of a sudden the page adapts in real time. And now the conversion path is super easy, super clear. That's like a new paradigm that AI is introducing. And so I think about like marketing operations and what does it mean for the future of that role? Well, right now, what I just described is not marketing automation. That's adaptation. And so when you think about it that way, marketing operations is going to be thinking about building and deploying agents. They're going to be thinking about making sure that those agents have access to and deeply understand the DNA of the brand, and orchestrating, almost like a conductor of an agentic foundation. And I think that's both exciting, but also a little bit scary for people who've spent the last 15, 20 years in marketing automation tools.
Yeah, super interesting. And so, we've obviously drowning in buzzwords and word salad when it comes to AI and marketing. Are there aspects that you think are either overhyped or underhyped?
Well, overhyped is definitely use LLMs to write all your content. That's just lazy.
Yeah, don't do that.
Underhyped, I would say, agentic AI kind of sidekicks or co-pilots for marketers. A lot of the tools today have built-in pervasive interactive agents that basically make you a super user. And we've seen like content authors, for example, operate like 4 or 5 people versus just as a person of one. So that's not just efficiency, that's like amplifying creativity, which is super cool.
Amazing. Yeah. What's your experience?
Yeah, overhyped, I think just the idea that, all of a sudden we'll all go home and AI will generate all our content for us. I think we all agree that's a little bit of a overhype. I actually think that the underhyped use case is finding ways to use existing content more, sweating the content, if you will. So I'd love for AI to come up with suggestions to me around, oh, you've got this webinar. I've just generated 3 social posts out of that webinar for you, and I'll should we post them? Or, repurposing some content based on audience signals that we're getting. So I think that is probably a really useful use case.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess when we talk about AI, I think what we bring it back to is this idea of authenticity, human touch. How do you maintain those elements when we're talking about automation, agentic, and all this sort of stuff?
I think about, the humans always taking the role of a composer and AI kind of being the instrument. You said conductor, so we're going with this musical analogy. But I truly think that that's the core narrative, the voice tone, emotions in whatever we're trying to say is going to be determined by humans and so that the authenticity can be there. And AI will kind of play the role of amplification, repurposing of that content. Because otherwise I would say that, all of our competitors and us will all sound the same. So AI is therefore scale and sort of variance versus the core narrative.
I kind of see two sides of this. There's as a marketer and as a brand, you have to make sure that AI is an ambassador for your brand, and that means it has to speak as your brand, not about your brand. It's a really big difference. But the second thing is, we know AI is really good at some things, and it's not so good at other things. It's good at editing, optimizing, localizing content. It's not so good at evoking feeling. I think about Duolingo's owl. I think about the Oreo you can dunk in the dark. Like, those are things that AI probably would not have been able to come up with in real time or even proactively. You need that human element, and I think what humans can infuse, the true promise of AI is unlocking that creativity, and that's what's really exciting to me about AI.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, and thank you so much for joining me on the stage today. Absolute pleasure.